Okay, here is the fire within, who's called Fugo. And I asked my good friend Brooke to come ride him because Fugo is a hunter horse. He has a really nice hunter background. He's very good at the hunters. He enjoys the hunters. He wants to be a hunter. And I am not a hunter at all. I can't really do it. I've tried and I just feel very silly trying to pretend that I'm a hunter rider. And so Fugo's been here for a little bit now and he's coming off of sort of a break over the winter and the spring. So he's coming back into work, and I really haven't jumped him. I mean, when I say I haven't jumped him, I plopped him over some little things here and there, mostly ground poles and things like that. But I haven't done any actual, what I would call like serious intentional jump schools with him, largely because he's just coming back into work after a break, and so he's not fit. But also because he's a hunter and I'm not a hunter, and I just sort of feel a little bit silly and like I'm not quite doing him justice. So he was definitely ready to have his first proper jump school back to work. And so I asked Brooke to come over and ride him because she has a hunter background, and I just thought it would be better for Fugo than having me on his back. But also more than that, I do think it's good to show them with other riders on their backs when they're not, fresh off the track thoroughbreds. It's one thing when they're literally just total green beans. That in that instance, I think it makes sense just to have, for the most part, the one rider. But Fugo's been off the track for a few years. He's been to he spent all of 2024 horse showing and getting ready for RRP, which he did exceedingly well at. So it's not like he's a green off the track horse, and he's more than ready. Well, I shouldn't even say more than ready. He's perfectly fine with having other people sitting on his back. He actually probably much preferred Brooke to me. He probably would like me to keep having Brooke come back to ride him, which I don't blame him. She did a lovely job with him. So Brooke has never ridden Fugo before. She showed up, we put some tack on him, marched out to the ring, and she got on. So she's just doing her warm up. She's just getting to know him a little bit on the flat. Basically, I just told her that he's very soft in his mouth, very much wants to be round. Of course, he's not particularly fit at the moment, but he is a horse that just very naturally wants to make this sort of beautiful shape. He's obviously also just a gorgeous mover. I was curious to see her in the canter with him because I always just feel like he's just so exceedingly quiet that I have a hard time keeping him going in the canter. And it was much to my amusement. Brooke actually also had the same experience, which is just that goodness, he's just so quiet, especially in the canter. If you're not riding every step, he just really wants to. He'll just break really, really easily, which honestly I think is fine because it's a very, very safe feeling. The horse is never going to go faster than you want him to go. And in fact, the moment that you're not thinking, keep going, he's more than happy to slow way down and take a break. So I think that, for the average amateur young rider who most certainly does not want a hotter thinking horse, Fugo is ideal because he's just not looking to get carried away with anything. And that being said, it's not like he's a nag to ride. Obviously, you put your leg on, he makes a great shape. He does go forward nicely from your leg, so it's not in any way, shape, or form exhausting to ride this horse. However, the moment you take your leg off, he just wants to slow way down, which is great. I find that that's very ideal for my average amateur or young rider or even professional, because let's face it, it is a lot easier to take a quiet-minded horse who's not always thinking forward, and it's just easier for the most part. And I don't know a lot about hunters, but I would think that it's especially easier in hunterland to have the sort of temperament that he does. So I thought that Brooke did a lovely job with him on the flat. This was a very nice canter transition. Of course, Brooke didn't realize how much leg he takes in the canter. So that took a moment of figuring, because he does a beautiful canter transition. He steps into the canter and you're just like, oh, this is so beautiful. But if you're not thinking, go forward, come on, keep going, he's just like, okay, that was a beautiful 5 steps of canter. Now let's trot. So he is definitely one that requires leg. So this is just sort of Brooke figuring out how to, all his buttons and his gears and, how to keep him plugging along in the canter and all those things. I thought she did a lovely job. It's very difficult to show up and catch ride a horse that you don't know, you've never met before, certainly have never ridden before, and just get on and make it look breezy, but she did a wonderful job. And also, Fugo's not complicated. I mean, the horse, he just has a very naturally beautiful way of going. And I thought this was some great work here in the canter. So it took Brooke about 20 seconds to figure out the buttons in the canter, and then they produced this. So I thought this was quite good. You know, Fugo is such an interesting horse because in the tack, he is just exceedingly easy. I mean, you know, you're looking at a horse who's had the majority of 2025 just sort of hanging out in the field with his buddies on the back burner just because his previous owner was, you know, busy doing all the other things. And he is just he's quiet minded, he's happy to do his job, obviously beautiful way of going, excellent movement, he's a good jumper, he's brave, he's all these things. I mean, he's all these ideal things to have in a horse in the tack. What makes him a little bit different, or quirky I should say, is that he can be a little bit insecure on the ground. And I mostly find that that's the case when dealing with the vet and the farrier. I know his former vet from his previous owner because she's one of my local vets also, and she loved him and they had a great relationship, but she was just very used to him. So I think that it's certainly something that can be built up with confidence and good experiences. But, you know, if you take this horse home the first time he meets your vet, he's probably not really going to love it, and he needs some dorm for the farrier. So he can just be a little bit insecure on the ground. He's definitely one I find who, you know, horses are herd animals, obviously. We all know this. And I think that horses that have a little bit of more insecurity, especially on the ground, because he's not insecure at all in the tack. But those horses, they tend to need the security of their herd to help their mental balance and their mental well-being. So I have Fugo out with 7 right now. I've also had him out with Billy's horse Cowboy, who he'll go out with while we're gone, and probably another horse. So he has a mini herd with me. And just that's all he needs. Just one other friend provides all the sort of, I guess, you know, herd comfort and stability that he needs to live a mentally balanced life. Now, he still needs some dorm for the farrier, but other than that, on a day-to-day basis, he's a totally normal, regular horse in the barn. But he's definitely a horse that I would not recommend. He's not going to thrive living in isolation. I don't think most horses thrive living in that sort of world. Maybe some of them tolerate it, or they internalize it in a way where it's not so noticeable to us. But I don't think that it's really particularly good for any horses. But I don't think that Fugo will tolerate that. He doesn't want to live a life in isolation. He wants to have friends and herd mates, and he needs that social time in order to be, you know, a happy, balanced horse. And if you give him that, he is those things. I mean, he's just being so good. He's just plopping around with a rider he doesn't know. They are getting to know each other, and he's just being lovely. And he is certainly a horse that I mean, horses are horses, you know, on any given day, a horse can do anything. But he's certainly not one that I could ever imagine. I mean, certainly he's never going to take off with you. That's not in his wheelhouse. But I mean, he's never crow hopped. He's never bucked. He's never kicked out. I've really never seen him make a mean face. He's an extremely sweet, kind natured horse. And he certainly loves to jump. I mean, jumping is his jam. It perks him right up. So I left everything super tiny for Brooke when she first came out because obviously she doesn't know him, he doesn't know her. So I wanted them to just spend a minute sort of trotting around over the ground poles and the little tiny things getting to know each other. And then we just put everything up a little bit to some bigger cross rails, some little verticals. Again, this is his first time doing a real jump school in quite some time. And obviously we want this to be a very positive experience. I actually had to go because my a vet came in, so I had to go meet the vet. So Brooke's boyfriend Trey took over the video camera, and he did an excellent job. So thank you, Trey. So I actually missed this part of the ride, so it was cool to go back and watch it on video. I mean, you know, it follows the same thread of his movement. He's a beautiful mover. He has a great canter, so it's not surprising that he's a beautiful jumper as well. But what makes that extra cool is that, you know, a lot of horses can be beautiful jumpers and have all the movement and all the things, but what we really need is a horse who's a good jumper who wants to do the job. And this is certainly a horse that is looking for the jumps. I mean, he really perks right up when he realizes that he's going to get to go jump over some sticks. And I thought Brooke did a great job piloting him around. I thought he jumped beautifully. He really made some nice shapes. As is always going to happen, especially with the horse you don't know, sometimes you're going to get less than ideal distances. I mean, shit, even with horses that I do know, my own horses, I get unideal distances. It's just part of life. So I left that stuff in here so you can see that he's happy to go when it's a little bit gappy or a little bit tight. He does not care. He just rolls on and he doesn't hold a grudge. He doesn't get upset about it. He just rolls on to the next jump. Obviously, he does his changes as a good hunter horse would. He gets a little tired towards the end of this and stops doing. He does a couple of less than perfect changes towards the end, but I really think he was just getting tired. What I like about him here is I'm just looking at his expression on his face, and he just looks perky. He looks perky and happy, and just super happy to do the job. One thing Brooke told me was hunters don't typically have turns as tight as in my ring, which I believe her. But I'm not changing around all my jumps to be more hunter-esque, so they had to deal with some tight turns. I thought that was very cute. And that was very good as well. They definitely got into a groove here, got a nice change. They were looking like a nice, confident duo here towards at the end of this. So we got a little bit underneath that one, but I mean, shoot, Fugo could care less. He just adds on up, pats the ground, and off he goes on to the next. And another one again there, a little bit underneath, but he honestly, I mean, the horse carries no grudges. He is happy to just figure it out and keep on rolling to the next. I don't know why I keep using that phrase tonight. I'm really liking it for some reason. Good boy. I think we're coming to the end here soon. I know he was, when they came into the barn, he was quite hot. This was a big effort for him today. He's quite pudgy. I actually have him off of straight alfalfa and just on an alfalfa orchard mix because this horse does not need straight alfalfa. His belly is quite large. So anyway, I thought Brooke did a great job. I think the horse is absolutely lovely. And it was really nice to see somebody else ride him and have the same nice experience that I have on him.